I'm going to talk about some other classes of medications also. Over-the-counter medications. You know, typical sinus medications, very commonly used. And I have a list of the 200 most commonly prescribed medications, I believe in 2003. And in those days, a lot of the antihistamines were still prescription. And so medications like Zyrtec were very commonly prescribed. Now they're available over the counter. You can buy 300 of them at Costco for very cheap. And they can cloud the consciousness. For some people, they can make you pretty drowsy, have memory problems, and have slowed reaction times. Now it becomes a balancing act. Is your sinus headache going to impair your performance more than the medication might? And for some people, they take a medication like Zyrtec and have no problem. Other medications like Benadryl are notorious for sedation, also an antihistamine. And people that take Benadryl the night before, Benadryl, by the way, diphenhydramine, is the common ingredient in almost every over-the-counter sleep medication. Sominex, Tylenol PM, etc. And Benadryl can cause drowsiness, slowed reaction time, clouded consciousness, all through the next day. And so, you know, that's even worse than the newer antihistamines like Zyrtec. Other medications used for sinus problems are stimulant type, like Sudafed. You see these also in weight loss preparations. There's one that you see advertised on TV called Hydroxycut. Basically, it's Sudafed, probably caffeine. And both of these will decrease appetite a little bit. Ironically, usually does not cause weight loss because the decrease in appetite is temporary and is followed by an increase in appetite. But it will cause high blood pressure, elevated heart rate, and tremor. All of those can have an effect on performance. And also, generalized anxiety and stress are made worse by these stimulant type decongestant medications. So, and these are available in any grocery store. A lot of these medications are in combination. You'll have the decongestant, which is Sudafed, and the antihistamine combined together. So what happens is the drowsiness you get from the antihistamine is counteracted by the nervousness you get from the Sudafed. Unfortunately, though, the side effects are additive, and you still have problems with reaction time, clouding of consciousness, tremulousness, irritability or anxiety. And the mix is unpredictable. It will affect everyone watching this in a different way because we have different brain chemistry. And again, people over time can get used to the effects of medications and decide, you know, if they're safe to drive, if they're safe to carry a firearm. But you know, it's important to know that all of these have an effect. And you know, sometimes people just need to call in sick rather than soldiering on and taking a medication and going to work anyway when they're not feeling at their best. As a psychiatrist, I'm very interested in the over-the-counter medications used for depression. About every 2 years, there's some new wonder drug that comes along, and it's a wonder drug for about 6 months until they, you know, finally do some research and realize it doesn't work. But the wonder drug story is, you know, local TV stations do that all the time, you know, television, newspapers. But there are two medications actually that do have proof that they work. One is St. John's wort, and it's derived from a plant. It's available as a prescription medication in Germany and other countries. And, but because it's an herbal preparation, It's unpredictable how much you're getting, how potent it is, etc. It does work as an antidepressant, but it's also sedating. Probably similar to the old style antidepressants like tricyclics, Elavil, imipramine. Because it's unpredictable, you know, I think you're taking a gamble if you take it. If you manage to get some prescription form of it, then you know that might be a bit safer. The other medication is SAM-E, or SAM-E. It can cause anxiety, increased sweating, some insomnia. There are some reports that indicate it can be helpful for depression or as an additive to help other antidepressants work. Again, though, effects are somewhat unknown, although you can get it in standardized doses. And allegedly, it helps with arthritis problems as well. So we may be seeing more of that medication. And of course, the two most commonly used medications we don't think of as medications. But Starbucks has made a fortune on supplying us with espresso, or as I call it, poor man's Ritalin. And some people, myself included, can't really function at the level in which we've become accustomed without some kind of caffeine. I tried to quit caffeine during medical school. I actually fell asleep standing up during surgery. And that's the only time I got yelled at. Yeah, no, the patient didn't mind. Slept right through it. But yeah, I've never forgotten that, and I never have quit caffeine again except when I was on vacation. And I finally decided I just do better with it than I do without it. Try to manage my dose. And if I have too much, then I start to have side effects. So, and that's the way most people are. I find that people are amazingly consistent with their own personal caffeine dose. Although some people, you know, have some days and not some other days, and then they wonder why they can't sleep. And then the next most popularly prescribed drug, self-prescribed, is alcohol. And alcohol has been the most commonly used psychopharmacologic agent ever since the first pile of grain rotted and somebody tried to salvage it, liked the effect. The Egyptians had in hieroglyphics on pyramids warnings about drinking too much. Do not go too often to the cellar of beer. And I think the warning said it could embarrass you and your family. So wise words, I guess. But most people are very consistent in terms of managing their alcohol levels. But about 12% of people who drink at all will develop alcohol problems. And so obviously those are huge numbers. About 1/3 of the population doesn't drink at all. And that's of the adult population.